Did you do something wrong and get ghosted? Because I feel like we've all been there where we feel like, we get ghosted and we feel like there must have been something that I did.
It's the Grown and Liberated Love Club, where we vibe high, heel deep, no pick-me love. No shrinking, shape-shifting, or settling for less. Only divine equal matches. Say it with your chest. It's the Grown and Liberated Love Club. Wanna feel joy, choose peace. So baby, listen up.
Hey, sweet love. Welcome to the Grown and Liberated Love Club. I'm Candace Harper, dating and relationship coach for sacred baddies and rich aunties who want their divine equal match without all the shape-shifting, shrinking, and submitting to the patriarchal BS. I'm also a former career-focused high achiever who almost died from struggle love. Now, I'm 4 years joyful with the love muffin of my life. And I'm here to guide you to the grown, sexy, emotionally safe love life you actually want too. Each week, I'll be breaking down myths, answering cries for help from clients and social media, and deconstructing love lyrics to help you get your mind right for the love that is your birthright. So listen up, Buttercup. All right, so today I want to talk about how many of y'all are out here on social media, farming for feedback and in need of connection, child. Here's one from the private groups. There's no shame in it. It's what I'm here for. An anonymous poster writes, I showed up for a date really cute and excited. This was a much anticipated second date that was supposed to be a makeup for 2 canceled dates, one of which included my birthday. I put in effort and I came in with good energy. When he showed up, it honestly felt like he didn't even try. No flowers, no card, no acknowledgement, nothing. And while that might seem small to some, it completely killed the vibe for me and left me feeling really disappointed. I tried to sit with it, but I couldn't get past how it made me feel, so I talked to him about it. Now it's been more than 24 hours and he hasn't reached out at all. For context, I'm in my late 40s and he's in his late 50s, and we've been talking for almost 7 weeks. I'm genuinely asking, did I do something wrong by expressing how I felt, or is this just information I need to accept and move accordingly? Now, see, first of all, she's in her late 40s and he's in his late 50s. Just goes to show you, peeps, this stuff goes on throughout your life. No matter how old you get, you're always going to be wanting love, wanting this stuff to work out. And when we don't get our lessons early, when we don't learn how to navigate relationships early, it can go on until even later in life. And so that's why we're in this conversation, to handle all of that. So today's title, Did You Do Something Wrong and Get Ghosted?, is based on that post. Did you do something wrong and get ghosted? Because I feel like we've all been there where we feel like, we get ghosted and we feel like there must have been something that I did. Now, we all know logically, cognitively, we can understand that everybody doesn't communicate well. Some people just ghost because they ghost. I'm sure we've all ghosted at some point. Maybe I'm projecting, but even as much as I consider myself a good communicator in my dating life, when I was single and dating, there were times where I ghosted. I have to admit it. I have to be honest. Sometimes you just don't even want to deal with a person when you know it's not going to work out. But separate of that, just talking about, the feeling of I got ghosted and now I feel like I did something wrong. What happens when we feel like that? And when we believe that, maybe it's something we did? Your nervous system dysregulates. And you start to feel as though all of your fears of never finding a partner are being validated. So all of the insecurities and questions about if this is even something that's going to happen for you in this lifetime or, just in general, get validated when you believe you've done something wrong, or especially if you've been ghosted several times and you're like, is it me? If you are emotionally powerful enough to tell yourself that it's not you, a part of you still gets eroded from just the exhaustion of it all. So if it's not me, there's nothing I can do about it, and people are just ghosting people out here. Why do I even bother? It's exhausting to feel like that. And you may plead to friends or like this poster, social media, whoever will listen for some validation that it wasn't something that you did. And if you're like a lot of my very powerful clients, you've already outwardly convinced yourself that you are not to blame and you can rationalize it. But deep down, as humans, we can't help but wonder, is there something inherently wrong with me? Am I too good or not good enough? Or, I just will never find a match. It's not in the cards. It's not my ministry. It's not going to happen for me. And in that case, if that is the case, why am I even trying? Why am I even dating? And then you may take yourself back to through the cycle of self-protection, right? Avoidance, self-soothing, until you can once again pull yourself up by your bootstraps again and get back out there for another round of needle in a haystack. I get it. We've all been there, and it's exhausting and disheartening, and it makes it feel like it's never going to happen. And it also zaps your energy. And we know we're all about energy around here and how important energy is and vibing high. So when I was desperate and denying my worth, believing that time was running out on my dating viability, there was nothing more unnerving than wondering if I was going to get a text back. Like, it just was one of those things where I lost any ability to be patient, especially if I felt like I liked a person or I thought that they were someone who was going to be viable, that, maybe I was stigmatized by them, or I felt some level of attachment, anxious attachment like we talked about last week. Whatever it was, for whatever reason that it was, it just threw my whole nervous system out of whack when I wondered whether I was going to get a text, or whether I said the right thing, or whether I said something that would put them off or not. And so, I could learn and rationalize and grow and talk to myself and read all the books and, try to make myself feel better. But then there was always that questioning of whether, if someone ghosted me, or if someone didn't respond in the way that I wanted them to, and this happens to a lot of my clients as well, questioning whether it should bother me or not. And that's exactly what this poster did. Like, is this something I should even care about, or should I just move on? That questioning, it's one of the most insidious ways that we, particularly as women, but as humans, we invalidate our own experience. Like, if you're bothered, you're bothered. So we rarely let ourselves just be bothered without questioning whether or not we should be bothered. If you're bothered, you're bothered. That's the fact. Fact is, you're bothered. You're bothered. Whether it's his fault or your trauma, it deserves to be tended to, right? You might be bothered because of some information you got from the past. You might be bothered because he's actually a dick, right? Whatever the reason is, you're bothered. So let's break down this post, because we want to validate the bothered feeling. We want to take care of ourselves around that. And we want to know how to take care of ourselves around that, and really be able to self-reflect, self-understand, and give ourselves a lot of grace around feeling like human beings. So let's break it down. So she says, I showed up for a date really cute and excited. This was a much anticipated second date. There was supposed to be a makeup for 2 canceled dates, one of which included my birthday. I put in effort and I came with good energy. So she's already doing what a lot of us do when we really want something to work. I call it stealing your resolve, right? When you're stealing your resolve in dating. Sure, I've been completely disappointed by the fact that this person has already canceled on me twice. One time of which was my birthday, and maybe they don't take birthdays as seriously. Who knows what their reason was? Doesn't really matter. If I'm serious about my birthday, I'm dealing with someone who canceled on me on my birthday. Doesn't make them a bad person, makes them not my person, right? So I've been completely disappointed by the fact that this person has already canceled on me twice. However, I'm going to steal my resolve, and I'm going to put on a brave face, because I still want to see potential in this situation. I'm not wrong. I'm not bad for that. But I got to just recognize that that's what I'm doing. I want to see potential. So let me, get my cuteness on, pull it all together, and stuff down that little bit of disappointment. But that little part of you that has experienced the disappointment with this person already is like, okay, but just be prepared to be disappointed just in case. We can't deny that part of ourselves. Right? We can't deny when something has gone uncared for, and when we haven't paid attention to it, that feeling of disappointment, we try to stuff it down because we want to keep making it happen, right? We don't want to sit in the disappointment. We don't want to sit in the feeling resentment around it. So we want to move past it so that maybe we can create a better feeling that'll replace it and pretend like that didn't happen, because if he shows up and makes up for missing those first 2 dates and makes up for missing my birthday, then it'll all be all right, right? So let me just push it all down. And so that little part of you that has experienced the disappointment is like, you know what? Okay, I'll sit here quietly, but just know I told you so. That little inner self is like, just know I told you so. So she says, when he showed up, it honestly felt like he didn't even try. And you can imagine how that went when he showed up. From the moment he showed up, she already had those feelings of disappointment that were sitting there, and it hadn't been cleaned up clearly or communicated. They haven't cleared the air, and that's not her fault. The air has not been cleared. She's dealing with someone who, cancels, or at least has canceled a couple times and is showing signs of a pattern, and the air hasn't been cleared yet. They haven't had a conversation, and maybe the hope is that, oh, we'll have a great date, then we can have a conversation, whatever it may be. But, you got to acknowledge that feeling is still sitting there, because that's what's going to show up when he shows up and he's not stretching. He's not making any effort. He's not even talking about the fact that he canceled before. He's not trying to make up for having canceled. So she said, it honestly felt like he didn't even try. No flowers, no card, no acknowledgement, nothing. And while that might seem small to some, she says, it completely killed the vibe for me and left me feeling really disappointed. So now she's really disappointed. And you know how they say that when it's hysterical, it's historical. That was built up. That's strike 3. Strike 3. And I know maybe a lot of men might say, oh, but he did show up. Women expect too much, blah, blah, blah. But there was already a seed of a pattern that I'm going to disappoint you. And so she came to that date doing her best to have resolve and make the most out of it. But he came as if there had been no past. He came as if there weren't any canceled dates, right? And I'm not saying this to say he's a bad person or a bad guy. But when as a woman, you think about the energy that you want in a relationship and what you want it to feel like and how you want to feel in a relationship, if this is what you're getting, like right from jump, we're not even 7 weeks in. We're barely 7 weeks in. And what's happening is that all of your feelers are, your back of your neck, hair on the back of your neck is standing up straight, and you're like disappointed. If I'm in a state of disappointment from jump, I can only imagine that as this relationship were to move forward, the disappointment would continue. Right? Because that's what magnifies what you're experiencing in the beginning. That's what begins to magnify. And so, because in the back of my mind and in the base of my gut, I am already and rightfully reinforced for disappointment, I am lasered in on the fact that he did not even try. And I'm right. He didn't. And I say I as her. But now it's magnified, like I said, because he's already shown me low effort twice, and the experience is building up. It's starting to build on itself. So she says, I tried to sit with it, but I couldn't get past how it made me feel. So I talked to him about it, and now it's been more than 24 hours, and he hasn't reached out at all. Ugh, it's the worst feeling. And I've been there. It's been years, but I've been there. And so there's 2 things at play here. The buildup and you wanting to communicate about the problem to someone who is proving to be a no-show emotionally and physically. Now, I know I got a lot of women out there who are very savvy, and they're all like quick to say, it's just like the women on social media, quick to say, you got to go, believe, blah, 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 blah. Don't waste your time, all that stuff. But, what we're talking about here is how to process this stuff out of your system so that you are not hair trigger, I got to leave anytime things don't go my way, but you understand how to care for yourself around this stuff so that you can date in a way that doesn't have you constantly getting hurt and attached and feeling like you constantly have to protect yourself. Because when we're not cognizant of these feelings and we're not aware of why it feels so deep and we're not taking care of ourselves around that, it just begins to build up. Right? And so now here you are wanting to communicate about the problem to someone who is proving to be a no-show emotionally and physically. And while there's nothing wrong with expressing yourself, as a matter of fact, I encourage it. I really want you to be very, very fully self-expressed. When you're dealing with someone who's already giving low interest, low effort, the quickest way to sabotage your nervous system and your dating experience is to hope that your hurt words will ignite empathy and caring, or worse, the connection you crave. hoping, well, if I have a conversation with him, it's going to fix it and, we're going to move forward. And so finally, sis says, for context, I'm in my late 40s, he's in his late 50s, and we've been talking for almost 7 weeks. And I'm genuinely asking, did I do something wrong by expressing how I felt? Or is this just information I need to accept and move on accordingly? Now, all y'all out there who've ever said these things, you know the answer, which is why you made the post, which is why you're asking the question. Because we always ask a question when we're not sure, when we know that the answer is something we don't want to do. So listen up, y'all. If you ever wonder whether you need to poll the masses about a dating or relationship situation, it's because your attachment has you disconnected with yourself. Your attachment to what you want to work with that person has you disconnected from yourself. And to answer the question of whether you did something wrong by expressing how you felt, the simple answer is no. However, I don't give simple answers. Number one, only you know whether you expressed yourself in a way that provided a safe space for the answer. So that's a very important thing, especially with feelings of disappointment. It's so easy sometimes for us to go to anger, go to disappointment, go to sadness, and want to make sure that they know that that's how we're feeling, when they absolutely have no tools or motivation or reason to want to take care of those feelings for us. Especially only 7 weeks in. That's a sign that you're with your right person. If they want to take care of those feelings. But if you're expressing those feelings in the hopes that they'll know how to, want to, be motivated to, it's like, you're shouting or, you're being sarcastic or, whatever tones of voice you tend to get, because we all have a tone that we take when we feel hurt and we're trying to communicate that what someone did was wrong. All of that stuff, what it does is it cuts off a safe space for them to be honest or truthful. Now, I'm not saying you owe them a safe space. You owe yourself to communicate in such a way that you will get the truth. That's what you owe yourself. So the ability to be able to take your need to make them wrong out of it, punish them, put them down, make them feel stupid, retaliate, be petty, all of that stuff, I know sometimes it can be very cathartic, and I'm not saying I never do it. What I'm saying is that your ability to express yourself in a way that has them feel safe enough to tell you the truth or feel safe enough to go ahead and respond is, part of how you get the answer that you need to get if you really feel like you need the answer, right? And so you're never wrong if you're expressing how you feel, but there is a way to express how you feel that can make you wrong. And that's when you bring all of your trauma and your anger and your response and your feelings about it, the stuff that you've stuffed down that you didn't say previously that's now built up in now you want to fight out of a bag. Like all of that can make your communication wrong. Number two, if you did expressed yourself, and he didn't answer, he may just need to digest it or is not capable because either he's not that interested or not that communicative. Either way, all signs point to this is the behavior you'll be signing up for if you keep pursuing this. So I always say you got to ask yourself when you're dealing with somebody early on and they're doing things like, not texting back for 24 hours when you have expressed yourself, or just, disappointing you, not showing up for things, don't really seem that interested, aren't really putting any real effort in. You always want to ask yourself, no matter what it is, if they're putting way too much effort in, if they're not treating you well, if they're talking to you in a way that makes you feel small, do I want this energy in a long-term relationship? Because if the answer is no, I don't care how early on you are, don't give it any energy. Turn away from it. And you don't have to make a big deal. You don't have to ghost. You don't have to block. You don't give it any energy. You release it, you let it go. And I know it's hard. Oh, but there's so few men out there that I'm attracted to. And when I find one I'm attracted to, I really want to make sure that I'm doing all the right things and I'm making it work and that they can really see who I am, because deep down, I'm a very loving person. I just have been hurt. So I react in ways that don't work sometimes. I want them to see all of that about me. And as much as I am the advocate for you being as fully self-expressed as possible, I don't want you putting your energy into that which you do not want to grow in a relationship. And you have to forgive me for clearing my throat a lot. I have COVID right now. But what we put our energy on, what we focus on, is what we grow. And I don't want you to be growing things that you don't want. And I want you to trust that the more you ignore it, the more you're indifferent to it, the more you will detract people who aren't aligned with you and repel them, and or bring out the better behavior. And that's not that you're doing it with the intention of bringing out the better behavior, because you can't change people. But the more you're aligned with what it is you want to experience, the more he's going to either try to live up to it or not. And if not, that's got to be okay. We got to normalize that it's okay that he doesn't know how to live up to it. And then the last fact is the energy you start with only magnifies over time, like I was saying. Think about your last long-term relationship. When you broke up, did you realize that there were so many things so many signs in the beginning when you look at it in hindsight? Right? So when you want to answer the question of whether you did something wrong by expressing how you felt, I want you to keep those things in mind. How did I express myself? Did he know how to respond? Am I putting in energy with something that I don't even want? Do you want to move through your love life fully self-expressed, able to be 100% yourself at all times, in all situations, without having to perform, pretend, and people please to get connection? Of course you do. So I want you to apply for a consult to join the Grown and Liberated Love Club. It's how people are transforming their love life and attracting their divine equal match. No shrinking, shape-shifting, or settling for less. And all you got to do is go to CandiceHarperLoveCoach.com/grown-liberated-love. Now listen, we're going to take a little break, but we'll be back with Girl, What You Going Through, breaking down love lyrics that are wrecking your love life so that you can bop along and still thrive. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Girl, what you going through? Breaking down the love lyrics that are wrecking your love life so you can bop along and still thrive. And so, this week I almost wasn't going to do this segment because I was like, there's so many songs out there. I don't really feel like trying to find one. But then I heard that Jilly from Philly is coming out with a new album, and she has already released a song, and I might be a little bit late on it. It might have been a few days ago. I don't know. But I realized I hadn't even listened to it. And Jill Scott is like my musical queen. I love her so much, and she and I are about the same age, so I don't know. I actually used to work for the Broadway and touring cast of Rent, and so I have bought many clothes for Jill Scott because I worked in the costume department, and even though we never hung out personally, there was a lot of parallels in our life. And so I love her as a musician, and I love her as a lyricist. I've seen her live several times, and I am a huge, huge fan. I also would love to one day have her as a client, because I only know the gossip about her love life, and I just feel like, she is like me, like a never-ending romantic, and, just hasn't located that love that is her birthright. Of course, I don't want her to stop writing great songs, so, I don't want her to get into some great love life and then she ain't writing good songs no more, because although she wrote Liesl in E flat, and she was very much in love at that time, so she writes a good song no matter what. But I did look up her first release of this new album and read through the lyrics, and it just was so perfect for this segment. So I had to keep the segment in. I say all of that to say I kept the segment in. Woohoo! Girl, what you going through? So this week's lyrics is Jill Scott's new song, Pressure. It's called Pressure. And I'm going to read the lyrics to you. So, I wanted you to be mine in the daytime as well as the night, but you needed to hide me, and that just don't sit right. I wasn't the aesthetic. I guess I get it. I guess I get it. So much pressure to appear just like them, pretty and cosmetic, elementary, alphabetic. So much pressure to appear just like them, just like them, just like them. So much pressure to appear just like them, just like them. So much pressure to appear just like them. You chased me for a couple years and a couple months till I said yes to lunch. Love moved swiftly. We graduated. And in turns, please showed us. No need to fake it. I wasn't the aesthetic, I guess. I get it. So much pressure to appear just like them. I found you so pathetic. I know you gonna regret it. So much pressure to appear just like them, just like them, just like them, just like them. So much pressure to appear just like them. You're like the wolf outside my bedroom door, howling at the moon for me, craving all my tasty love. Now you got plenty money, plenty fame. I know you're out there smiling for the world and thinking my name. Ooh, I guess I wasn't there yesterday. I guess, I get it. So much pressure to appear just like them. So much. I found you so pathetic. I know you're gonna regret it. So much pressure to appear just like them. So much pressure to appear just like them. And then it goes on a beautiful repeat with Jill Scott's beautiful velvety voice. And so if you've ever been in this predicament, excuse me, you hear like my zipper keeps knocking into my microphone. If you've ever been in this predicament where you really gave yourself over to someone who denied you or hid you because they were trying to convey an image or even hide from public judgment or maybe even a wife, if you ever have known what that feels like, I was in an early relationship. It was a very, very long-term relationship. And even though he didn't hide me publicly, we had cultural differences, religious differences in our families of origin. And so he often hid me from his parents, not all of his family, but his parents. Being in any kind of situation where someone is hiding you. And what I read in this, I'm not one for celebrity gossip, but what I read in this song and in these lyrics is a experience of not looking like an image that a man is trying to create for himself, whatever that image might be, and wanting to be with you, wanting to love you, but because you don't fit the image he's trying to create or what he thinks is idyllic as far as who he is and how he is, whether it's on a small scale or a celebrity scale, then you are hidden. You're a dirty secret, or you're put on the back burner. You're deprioritized. There's no pride for being with you for whatever that reason is. And it doesn't matter what size you are or what you look like. You can experience this on all different levels when you're dealing with a man who thinks that being with you goes against the image that he wants to convey. And so it's very important with situations like this that we let ourselves recognize and allow ourselves to recognize that, well, first of all, as I always say, every rejection is a favor, right? And so the sooner you learn that that's what's happening, the sooner you understand that that's what's happening, the sooner that you can take care of yourself and take that favor and understand that even if they love you in secret or want to be with you in secret, it's still a rejection if it can't be public. It's still a rejection if it's not something that they can proudly do, if it's not something, where they want to prioritize you in the way that you want to be prioritized. And like I always say, because we often want to villainize people who can't show up the way that we want them to. And that's not to say that some of them aren't villains, but one thing that we want to do and want to be able to do for ourselves is recognize that there is blessing in seeing that a person doesn't align. And what I get out of this song and these lyrics is that what aligns with Jill as a woman in a relationship is somebody who is proud to be with her. And she has every right. We all have every right to feel like we want to be with someone who we would never be a secret, and that they're proud, and there's nothing that they're trying to protect by keeping us a secret, right? Because they see us as their safety, their space, their something to be prioritized and valued and cherished and loved, and they're proud of us as an object of love. And the thing is that none of us has to settle for anything less than that. And many times we do, because we think that any small amount of love and attraction and passion or whatever it is that they feel like they can give us, whatever capacity that they're at, is something that we have to accept for whatever reason, whatever we're telling ourselves. Usually it's because we don't think that we're worthy of exactly what it is we want to experience. But the moment that we can make this kind of admission and recognition, the way that she's so beautifully done in this song, and I invite you to get on YouTube or wherever, Spotify, listen to this song, because it's really not just beautifully written, but beautifully sung. When we're able to get to that point where we can recognize it and call it out and call it what it is, it behooves us to release any resentment around it. But what it does is it gives us the understanding to be able to say, this does not align with what it is I want to create. It always goes back to having clarity around what kind of relationship we want to be in and what that relationship needs to look like. And just the knowledge that I want a relationship where I'm cherished and prioritized, and you would never be embarrassed to be with me. Just having that knowledge and heeding that part within yourself would have you write something that's beautiful, like what Jill here has written. It will have you acknowledging something in a beautiful way, the way that she has. And I understand that a lot of the chorus, she's talking about the pressure that we as women are often under to convey whatever this image is that some man is trying to convey. And a lot of times, whatever image that other women are conveying and whatever they're putting themselves through in order to convey it. I mean, who isn't taking the shot? And I'm not judging, even though it's something I years ago when I was very, very young, I was on a asthma drug without having asthma, but it helped to lose weight. It was called clenbuterol. When I was in my 20s, I lost weight so quickly, and it was just as effective as any GLP-1s, Ozempics, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But when I tell you that the moment I went off that stuff, and I had to go off of it because it just had me racing around like I was on coke or something, and I'm not a drug user, generally speaking, I couldn't sustain life on that drug. And when I had to go off of it, of course, I blew back up like a balloon because it was an unnatural state, and it was me trying to fit into an image that wasn't representative of who I was and how I treated my body or how I moved through life. Right? I didn't want to do the work that would have been required to fit into that image. I just wanted to have the image. Right? And in this day and age, when so many people are, taking shortcuts and doing what they want to do, or, and again, I'm not judging. I know there's scientific reasons. A lot of people take these drugs, and, some people are legitimately diabetic. Some people are legitimately having digestive disorders and, different kinds of disorders that some of these drugs help and all of that stuff. I'm not trying to take that away from anybody, but we know that it's just such a common, popular thing, right? To fit in an image. And it's a way of making myself fit, even though I don't fit. My lifestyle doesn't fit in the image that I'm trying to convey. And that can be, momentarily satisfying, but in the long run, it can cause a lot of pain because it's another form of self-denial. Now, I'm going to do a whole show about self-denial because I could go on and on and on. But listen to this song when you get a chance. It's a beautiful song. And thank you to Jilly from Philly for, writing it and releasing it and coming back with a new album. We've been waiting for so long, but Jilly, you're always right on time. And that's it, my sweethearts. Listen, let me know what you think about the show. You can come. Where can you let me know? I guess if you're on Apple or Spotify, I think there's ways that you can leave comments, Q&A. You could also find me on social media. I'm on TikTok at Candy Love Coach. I'm on Instagram at Candy Love Coach. So if you're ever listening to a show or you have comments, things you want to say to me, you can DM me. You can comment on my posts, whatever you want to do. And I'm happy to have a conversation with you. But more than anything, if you want to join the Grown and Liberated Love Club, you know how to do it. CandiceHarperLoveCoach.com/grown-liberated- grown-liberated-club, I think. Let me double check. Let me look up that link before I give you the wrong information, have you all over the place. You know what? I'm going to put it in the show notes because I don't even remember where I wrote it down. I got the COVID, y'all. I told you. Anyway, that is it for this week. I think it's grown-liberated-love, but make sure you look in the show notes to get the link if you want to have a real conversation about working with me. If you want to attract your divine equal match without shrinking, shape-shifting, or the patriarchal BS, you definitely want to apply to work with me. Anyway, you've been listening to the Grown and Liberated Love Club, the podcast. Subscribe, share, and never take relationship advice from joyless people. You're not unlovable. You're just unmatched for now. I love you so much, my sweetheart.